What's his name?
Okay, Avishai. Say hi, Avishai.
Avishai.
Say hi.
Hi, Avishai.
Okay, it is Tuesday. We are going to do two Rashis today from Shlishi, from the third Aliyah. One which is just like a cute little giveaway, and then one which is a little bit more serious, hopefully for some contemplation. So we see again the preparations for the encounter between Yaakov and Esav. We saw Esav yesterday waiting, so to speak, in the distance. Yaakov crossing over Ma'ar Yabok, Vayavaser Yaakov Levado, Chazar Pachem Kitanim, Rashi says. We talked a little bit about that. Now he's over the river, and they're getting ready for the encounter, and he splits up his camp, and the Torah tells us, Esav Ba, V'imo Arba Me'os Ish, he has 400 people coming with him. And what does Yaakov do? Vayachatz es hayeladim aleya v'arachal shtei hashvachos. He splits up his family into different groups. And here's the order in which they advance towards Esav. Vayasim es hashvachos v'sialdehen rishona. He puts Bilhah and Zilpah and their children first. Ves Leah v'yeladah achoranim. Leah and her children behind them. And Rachel and Yosef achoranim. Rachel and Yosef before them. Of course, Binyamin is not born yet. So the Rashi tells us here a famous line from Bereshis Rabbah, from the Medrash, which says that Leah and Rachel and Yosef and their children, Leah and her children, and Rachel and Yosef were at the end, the Achoranim, they were at the very end. And so the famous kind of modern Israeli phrase, which we hear in an everyday speech, Acharon, Acharon Chaviv, comes from this Medrash on this pasuk. So it's a little good piece of trivia for you to know. Where does that phrase come from? Acharon, Acharon Chaviv, which I guess what we would translate as last but not least. Acharon, Acharon Chaviv, the best is for last. Acharon, Acharon, the very, very last is Chaviv, is the most beloved. So that phrase comes from this Medrash quoted by Rashi on this pasuk, which is that Leah and Rachel were last, not because he forgot about them and they were at the end and he didn't care about them, but actually because they were most chaviv, they were most precious. So as he advances towards Esav, the potential enemy, with Arba Mos Ish, he wants to put those who are most precious to him in back. Now, one could get a little discussion about how it could be that some wives and some children were more precious to him than others. I don't want to get into that now, but I just wanted to show you the source of this interesting phrase. Then, of course, as they encounter each other, the Torah tells us that Esav runs towards Yaakov after Yaakov bows down multiple times. He sees Yaakov as subservient. He sees that Yaakov perhaps views him, Esav, as the one who's greater, giving him the right kind of deference. He had greeted him with gifts. He was bowing down to him. He was, so moved by that, as Rashi says, Niskalgal Rachamav. He was overcome by compassion. And what did he do? He runs towards him. Vayechabkehu. He hugs him. They fall on each other's shoulders, and Esav kisses him, and they cry. So on the surface, it seems like a beautiful encounter of two brothers. All the hatred is gone. All the animosity is gone. The love has returned. Brotherly love, kissing, crying tears of joy, or perhaps tears of sadness for all the years that they had been apart, or whatever the case was. But, as Rashi notes over here, Nakud Allah, Vayishakeu, the kiss, the word Vayishakeu, I want to go down, has dots above it, and those dots are to indicate that maybe things are not exactly as they appear. Yesh chokim b'dav, a Braisa d'sifri. There are people who disagree about this in the Braisa. Yesh shadarshi nekuda zolomar shalon ashku b'chol libo. Some say that perhaps the dots are indicative that he did not kiss him with his full heart, that he didn't have his full heart in it when he kissed him, and they maybe had ulterior motives. Amar Shimon Bar Yochai, halacha hi biyadua she'esav sona liYaakov. The Medrash continues by saying, aside from these dots, what gives us the inclination that perhaps Esav was not sincere over here, that this wasn't the loving, kissing, crying kind of brotherly encounter? Well, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai explains that halacha hi, there's a Masorah, there's a tradition, a halacha, whatever you want to call it. There's a deep idea rooted in Jewish tradition, she'esav sona liYaakov, that Esav hates Yaakov. So perhaps that would indicate to you that over here, even though on the surface Vayishakeu is a positive thing, perhaps it's not exactly as it appears. Perhaps he was really kissing him, but deep down, he was hating him. Or perhaps as Rav Shimon Bar Yochai says, despite this halacha, nehepchu rachama ba'osa shav v'nashka b'cholibo. Two deos, two opinions here in the Medrash. Number one, yes, shadar shenekuda zolo marshalo nashku b'cholibo. Maybe the dots indicate that he didn't kiss him with a full heart, right? So the plain meaning of the text is they kissed. The dots indicate that it wasn't sincere. Or according to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, maybe Vayishlach at first blush would have been met by you by suspicion, because you know halacha he Esav son of Yaakov. It's axiomatic. Esav hates Yaakov. There's no way they get along. And the dots come to teach us that despite that principle over here, in this one instance, he was so overcome by compassion that the kiss was sincere. So you see there's two opposite perspectives here in the Medrash. One, which reads the pshat of the text as hatred and the dots as love, and one which reads the pshat of the text as love and the dots as hatred. Two differing perspectives. One, I guess, doesn't know which one is the correct one. You can see both those strands throughout this whole story. Really read it in two ways. I think indicative of the fact that really it's all about perspective. Which perspective you take tends to shape the rest of the story and what we learn from it as well. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi.
you.